Welcome back to the channel again. Some more thoughts following England against France here at Twickenham. Again, a spoiler alert. 26 points to 25. South Africa, you do not have a monopoly on beating France by 1 point. And I'll tell you what, as an England fan again, to win a game by a single point, having been edged out in a World Cup semi-final, and I was there in Paris to watch that one by a point, and lost narrowly in other games besides, it felt good. It felt good, I'm not going to lie. Twickenham's starting to die down a little bit. The team buses are still there. Presumably the players are just having their kind of dinner together. There's still fans milling around outside the bus, but most fans have headed off into Richmond, Twickenham, London, into the London night, full of beer. In fact, I can just hear some England fans singing Wonderwall. Probably be Sweet Caroline next. That's what you do when England win at Twickenham. So yeah, some more thoughts on the actual England performance. And I'm going to focus this one in on England for a second, rather than the game overall. And firstly, actually, I was reading through some of the comments to the video I posted at the full-time whistle. And the kind of generosity from people that aren't English about that one is really nice. It's always a joke about, you know, how England are universally disliked around the world. And you know what? I get it. But actually, there seems like there was a little bit of warmth from Irish fans, from South African, Kiwi, Aussies, to the England performance. And I think part of that is that England were the underdogs, and everyone likes an underdog story. I think another part of that is the fact that it was the kind of attitude that was shown out on the pitch. Yeah, France were not at their best. There's no getting around it. Dupont, Penaud, BLBRA, Malvaca. Some of their big players did not have their best game by a long stretch. But there was absolute heart and grit. The England players took themselves to a dark place. They went into the pain cave. And that is what, when you watch, it doesn't even matter if it's sport, it's just life. When you see someone working their nuts off at something, you can't help but admire, respect, and quite like it. And you sort of want good things to happen. And the effort of some of those England players was off the charts. So pleased for Finn Smith being man of the match. And I don't want to take anything away from him, but Tom Curry, how was that guy not man of the match? He's basically got a bionic hip. He's had stem cell treatment on his hip. It's not quite as severe as the Pieter-Steph du Toit story, where he had like muscle grafted off his dad's leg to put on his, and he might have, not been able to walk again, let alone play rugby. And his comeback was remarkable. But Tom Curry, from a lot of people, and maybe with some legitimacy, saying, I think his international rugby days might be over. The performance of him the last 2 weeks away in Ireland and here against France, I mean, that was vintage Tom Curry. He could be playing himself into a Lions tour if he continues like that. He was amazing. Ben Earl, the work rate of Ben Earl was unbelievable. Yeah, but so many English players stood up. I think there were some key differences. I'm going to have to change my arm. Bear with me just 1 second. I've been sat on my backside all day, so like holding up my camera is basically my workout for the day. There were so many things that were just slightly different for England, little things that made a big difference at the margins. And the bench. Let's talk about the bench for a second. Last week, Steve Borthwick went with like the quick guys to start and the big boppers on the bench, all of the big units, and that didn't quite work. There was balance there today. And Steve Borthwick, he said last week about the experience on the bench was lacking last week, and Ireland had it. And I even said that was basically my takeaway from the game against Ireland last week, was just like experience really matters. And I think it's undervalued and underappreciated. And I think you saw that today. Jamie George and Elliot Daly made a massive difference. Ollie Chesham as well was very good off the bench. And the bench made a massive difference. And England have been losing games in the last 20 minutes. They pressed on. They had an opportunity because of France's errors. They had an opportunity, but England actually had to go and win the game. France didn't hand them the game. England had to actually go and win it. And they scored 4 tries. And that's one thing that I've just come out from the media area and listened to Maro Itoje and Steve Borthwick in the press conference. And Steve Borthwick mentioned the 4 tries, and I went, oh yeah, England scored 4 tries against France. And France are a legit rugby team. Not at their best, but they are a legit rugby team. Steve Borthwick said, I made a note of a couple of things he said, which I thought I'd share with you. He said it only takes 30 seconds to score a try. And by that, he meant he was asked about the composure of the team at 75 minutes on the clock and being down, having gone back into the lead. I can't even remember how many times the lead changed hands in the last 10 minutes, but he was asked about that, and Steve Borthwick said it only takes 30 seconds to score a try, and that's something that he tells the guys. And it's a really simple point, but it's what I took from that is Steve Borthwick actually sent his team out there today to go and win the game. And you saw that at one point when they kicked for the corner rather than for the posts. And I thought that was a bad decision at the time. But now, obviously, hindsight is 2020. I look at the England performance now and go, yeah, they went out to win that match. They went out there to roll the dice. Where there was those 50-50 calls where, shall we play it safe or shall we just roll the dice? They rolled the dice today. And that was really, really good to see. There was one moment where Maro Itoje said, excuse me, he said he was pleased about the win, but he's not getting ahead of himself. And he said, I know Steve is going to let us enjoy the win tonight, but then he's going to give us a very, very honest report. And Steve Borthwick put his head down and just had a big grin on his face. I haven't seen, and it made me think, I haven't seen Steve Borthwick smile. But like he does those smiles in press conferences where his eyes are lying, like his mouth is smiling, but he's not actually happy. It was actually nice to see him show a little bit of like real, authentic emotion. And I want to see a bit more of it, frankly. And Maro Itoje said one of his mantras as captain, but just as a bloke, is don't get too high with the highs and don't get too lows with the lows. And yeah, all of this today, the win against France, will mean very, very little if in 2 weeks' time they don't come back and get better and beat Scotland. And they've given themselves the opportunity to improve. And yeah, so I get the impression that they're going to enjoy it tonight. Hopefully they'll have some beers, make some memories, and then straight back on it, get ready for Scotland in 2 weeks. And interestingly, on Steve Borthwick, he said, and I think he's right, he said, he was asked about what the result means and stuff. He said, I'm pleased for the players for the result. And he talked about it being a tangible reward for their efforts. But what I took from that was Steve Borthwick saying he's not actually that bothered by the win or loss, because he said, I'm proud of the players, but I was proud of them last week. I've been proud of them every time they go out there. I'm pleased that they've got a win so that they have something tangible to show for all of the efforts. And it struck me, at the one hand, I was like, oh, come on, Steve, just enjoy the win. And then another part of me is like, that's a really good attitude. It's like he's, well, a bit like Maro Itoje, don't get too high with the highs and don't get too low with the lows. Maybe a sort of, sometimes people call him boring, and I get that. He's not the most charismatic man, but yeah, maybe he's onto something. We saw some things there, and you have to remember it's a very, very young England team. I've made this point before. One of the youngest teams in world rugby. And by 2027, it's a mad thing to say, but I'll say it. If you were tracking I think the ceiling of this England team is potentially very high. They've got to go and deliver on it. Potentially the ceiling of this England team could be above Ireland's by the 2027 World Cup when you look at their age profile of both of the teams. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ireland are the back-to-back champions. They could go on and win a third one. And they're the benchmark in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. What else would I say? I made a couple of notes. Finn Smith and Tom Willis, first starts, they were both really good. I did like having a proper number 8 at number 8. And Finn Smith grew into the game. Really, really good. And yeah, Steve Borthwick also mentioned the cohesion factor. He said having Alex Mitchell and Finn Smith. And he also said having Tom Willis and Ben Earl, club mates in key combinations that worked. And there might be something in that. And again, talking about Ireland, we've absolutely seen that. Well, that said, and on the flip side, you take apart that combination 9-10, Dupont and Temac for France, and yeah, did not go well. Yeah, I think overall, I'm just really proud that they managed to, whether it was by hard work, and there was a lot of that, whether it was by a bit of luck with France butchering their chances, that's the point. England, all they did was engineer an opportunity to go and win, and they actually rolled the dice. And that might be the biggest takeaway from this win. Go and take game. Go and just go and grab the opportunities and take them. Don't let them pass you by. I thought, yeah, Tom Curry, Ben Earl, amazing. Ollie Chesham, Jamie George, Elliot Daly, Ben Curry off the bench. How could I not mention Ben Curry? Yeah, good. Happy. Right, I am going to disappear into the night myself now. I'm going to clock off from work. Oh, it's those guys I saw earlier. Just one thing I will finish with. Just again, something you get at rugby that you don't get elsewhere. There's all those Frenchmen in the chicken outfits. Amazing value. Allez, bleu. Amazing fans, amazing day. Enjoyed it. Not getting ahead of myself. England's got a long way to go, but we could get there. We could get there. Anyway, that's my England thoughts, and I appreciate the generosity of spirit in the comments. People understanding what, as an England fan, I've been through the last year and not begrudging me, properly enjoying this one. I will see you on the next one.